Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mentor Monday. Mentor Monday is your weekly microdose of encouragement, inspiration, and miracle grow on your potential as a coach. Just a huge favor. And you see this in the caption right here. Let us know that you're here. Tell us where you're joining us from, what you're excited about, what you feel life and momentum on in your life. I'm all the way over here in California, and obviously we're live in our studio over here, but I don't get the benefit of seeing your beautiful faces or hearing your voices. So it gives me a lot of encouragement and a lot of inspiration to hear from you. Also, I'm not interested in just simply being a talking head over here, like some Facebook lives and YouTube videos and everything are. So interact with us. Again, share where you're joining us from and what you're excited about today. Also, do us a huge favor when you like this, when you share, actually, when you interact with any kind of video or anything on our page, it just tells Facebook and YouTube that we're doing a good job. And so that makes them more likely to put it on people's feed that they will see it. So just a huge favor and like and share it and comment. That does us a huge favor. All right, let me say hello to a few people. There's Samantha joining us from Idaho. Tiffany's joining us from Vegas. Tamala is joining us from Dallas. And let's see, who else do I need to say hello to? W. Brewer, also in Dallas. Let's see, who else do I need to say hello to? We got Springtown, Texas, but I don't know who it is. Bobby's joining us from Atascadero, 6 hours north of Paul. Excited about a new course I'm getting ready to launch. I'm excited about that for you as well. I was seeing that. It looks great. Tiffany says, I'm excited about helping people and just enjoying life. Lana is joining us from Texas. Texas is just like taken over tonight. Like, what's going on? Anybody else in the house that would like to say hello to us? What we're doing, if you're just making it in, is I'm always interested to find out who's watching. So do us a huge favor. Tell us that you're here, where you're joining us from, and maybe something that you're excited about. Excited about this week. Does not have to necessarily be coaching. It can be anything in your life for that matter. Bill, also in Texas. Okay, Texas has just taken over. Like, Texas has completely taken over tonight, apparently. So anybody else who's here that's not from Texas, like, speak up before Texas takes us over. Harvey is joining us from South Florida. Excited about starting a group and getting website traction. Cool. Teresa's joining us from Kissimmee, Florida. Hey, Teresa, it's been a couple of weeks. Richard's joining us from Florida. Now, Florida is trying to compete with Texas here. Who else is in the house right now? Anybody else? If you're just making it in, we're just hearing from everybody who's here. Tell us where you're joining us from and comment. Also, like this post, share it. It tells Facebook and YouTube that we're doing a good job. Very cool. Well, let me get us started, and you guys can keep saying hello to everybody. Shomir's joining us from Atlanta. Awesome. So, what we're doing, and we started it actually last week, and really what I wanted to do as we were finishing up this year, because usually a lot of times what I'll do is we're finishing up a year, I'll help you guys recalibrate and think about what the next year is going to be for yourself and for business and some of those other things. But this was really on my heart, is that what I really wanted to talk about to finish off the year, and what I felt was really weighing heavily on me, was this whole idea of a disciplined mind. Because what we find with most individuals, and definitely with our clients, is that often people do not have much in the way of discipline when it comes to the way that they are thinking, and honestly, thinking is what actually produces the action. We know that we need good action in our life, but it's actually what we think and what we believe that consistently produces the kind of action that we have in our life. So what I really wanted to give you as we're finishing out this year are some handles and some really easy ways and simple ways, not only that you could use with your clients, but you could begin on yourself. Because I also know that some coaches come in and they haven't worked on this thing here. And if you haven't, and if you have habits in your life and ways of thinking and patterns of thinking that are not in alignment that will get you to the result that you want, then we're going to have some problems there. We're going to have some challenges. This is where self-sabotage comes from. This is where false starts come from. It's where people quit before they got to their goal or whatever. In almost every case, it has to do with what's going on here. It's not really a how-to problem. It's not really a lack of ability or any of those other things. Really, what it comes down to is that, hey, you know what? If I'm going to have a new life, then I can't have the same thoughts that have brought me to this place. Like your thoughts have gotten you so far, and they've gotten you here, but they're not able to get you to where you want to go. And so what we've got to have is totally an upgrade in thinking. And so I really wanted to spend the rest of this time of this year is really talking about having a disciplined mind. What does it take to think successfully? And just as a picture that I'd kind of drawn last week, and I'll draw it one more time to help us, visualize what I'm really talking about here, is that in most people's lives, I'm going to actually grab my picture from last week so that I don't have to redraw it. Really, what I was showing you last week is that when I thought I had it. Let me grab it again. There it is, right there. And so, really, what we're talking about here is that in most cases, you see the timeline that I drew down here. Most people do not have drastic thinking for the rest of their life. A lot of the stuff that's in us is fairly hardwired. It's fairly, the way that it's functioning early in our life seems to be the same ways of things, the same patterns of thinking for the rest of our life. And every now and then we'll pick up skills and we'll pick up abilities along the way. And you know what those skills and abilities will allow us to do? Sometimes it'll allow us to get a better job, a new job, a position where our knowledge, we can benefit financially from it. Maybe we get a new house, maybe we move to a new area, maybe we make more money, whatever. Outside of that, our patterns of thinking, our ways of thinking don't really change a whole lot. And so let's say that this is someone's potential up here at the top that you see right here. You'll notice that most people really never, and if we're honest, I believe that every one of us, that we are infinite beings. We don't know what a human is actually capable of. I don't know what you're capable of. I don't know what any of you are capable of. I don't know what I'm fully capable of, because the reality is that none of us really for the rest of our life will ever come into our fullest potential. But wouldn't you like to get 25% closer, 30% closer, 50% closer, whatever is in the realm of possibility? Wouldn't it benefit us if we start moving towards that? Because the outcomes in life in every way would be so much more satisfying than what we're living right now. So I believe that every one of you has extraordinary potential that obviously we haven't scratched the surface of. If we understand this, what we would know is that anybody, if we were going to compare ourselves to any human being, and honestly, I'm not trying to put you in a comparison trap. I'm just wanting you to think about some people in your life who inspire you right now, who are living life in a more manifested way than what you're living it right now. And that may be people in the way that they parent. It might be some way of living where they're making a lot of money in a particular industry, or maybe they're having an impact, an influence upon a group of people. All of those people that inspire us and that we would aspire to be, what we'd have to say is that if they have more than we do in a particular area and we would aspire to be them, what we would have to agree on is that they probably think differently than we do about themselves and about life, and they're probably acting differently in their life than we are. What we'd have to understand then is that if our potential is up here, it's very easy for us to think about the fact that if I am going to come into this right up here, if I am going to become this person right here in the future, you know what that means is that I need to have different actions than what I have today, and I need to have different thinking. How do I know that? Because you don't have what you want yet. The actions that maybe you have been unwilling to take and you have not done, you're going to have to act a different way, aren't you? You're going to have to show up in life in a different way. You're going to have to think differently about yourself, and you're going to have to think differently about the world. You're going to have to think differently about your influence and whether or not people like you. There's a lot of different things. Whatever we're thinking about ourselves that allows the lid to be upon us, that allows us to be boxed in. We've got to relate to ourselves differently, and we've also got to relate to the world differently in order for these things to happen. But what I said last week, and I'll recap this one main idea that we started with last week, is that what most of us don't realize is that our thinking is actually habitual. Nearly 100% of our thinking is habitual. And when I say that, what I'm talking about is that really close to 100% of your thoughts, you thought yesterday, you thought the day before, you thought the day before, you thought the day before that. And it's not a problem that we have some of the same thoughts. It's that based on the research is that we know that about 85% of those thoughts towards ourselves are negative. So this is why we have patterns. This is why we only go so far. This is why we only push ourselves this far. This is why some of you have perfectionism, imposter syndrome, you have fears, and all of these other kinds of things, because the way that you relate to yourself is the way that you've related to yourself for a really long time. And with all of this stuff going on, you know what the reality is that it's going to be really hard to get more out of what we've got so far unless we start upgrading the way that we think. And not only do we think the same, and I'll invite you to go back to last week because I'm not going to completely go back to everything that I talked about last week, but not only do we think the same way and in the same patterns, we also do some other things in our life that follow these same sorts of habits. One of those things that we do is that we use words. We use often the same kinds of words and the same kind of language in and around our life. And see, the thing is that, and you guys have probably, if you think about it, you probably have been around people who were extraordinarily negative around you or pessimistic. Maybe I doubt very seriously that you're a negative or pessimistic person, because I find that coaches generally are not, and that's the audience that's listening to me tonight. But we know those people who are negative and pessimistic, and saying that the glass is half empty would be a nice way of putting it. They're actually really negative. Have you ever noticed the environments and the culture around those people who are always who are always criticizing, who are always the critic, who are always negative and always have a negative bent with everything? What does it feel like when you're around those people? Well, I can tell you what it feels like. They're sitting there and they're putting off, and it's not, what I'm saying is not in the way that some people are like, oh, negative energy and all this other stuff. But the reality is that there is an energy. And I'm not talking about that words are a creative force in the way that some people will talk about those things. I'm not going all new agey in this. What I'm simply saying is, because I want to include everybody on this, I'm not just speaking to new agey people on this, okay? I'm saying that we'd all have to agree that in a negative culture of speech around us, we feel the weight of those words and the heaviness of what people are bringing, and it's really, really hard to operate. Some of you who grew up in homes or in situations, maybe in a school situation or whatever, and whenever you heard negative words being even spoken around you that were not directed to you, you know what the result was? Is usually a lot of heaviness, a lot of fear, a lot of self-doubt, a lot of, man, it's really hard to stay hopeful. It's really hard to stay motivated when you're around those places. One job that I had in college, these guys recruited me. They were like, Paul, you'd be a really good salesperson and everything. And I'm like, well, I don't know. And then they were like, and this is the kind of money that we're making. And they were making like ridiculous money. And so I'm like, okay, I'm sold. I'm just like some college kid that had only made biggest paycheck that I was getting was like $7 an hour. So I go and I work for this company, and every one of their sales meetings, they would just thrash the people in the sales meeting. And so they wanted everybody to have a sell or starve mentality. So if you came in there with business, they didn't mess with you that day, but everybody else got thrashed, and they would call people names and all kinds of stuff like that. And so you would think, now there were some people who still seemed to be able to get some business, but there were a lot of people who started having addictive behaviors. Some of them that I literally saw using drugs in the car before they were going to appointments. These are people who were supposed to train me. This was the kind of culture that was in there. And so we'd have to know that in any of these cultures that that people are not only feeling the weight of these things, that these are not the best cultures for people to come into their potential. But what happens is in our life, now we understand that for everybody that we're around, we understand that for children and everything else. But what about us, and what is the culture of our heart? Because what people say with their mouth, and they speak over themselves and they speak over their situations, is already describing the culture of their heart. And if people wonder, if you don't like being in a negative situation, being with negative people and in that culture and everything else, how many of us speak things negatively over the environment, and we're creating our own negative environment and we're living in it? Because you get the world that you are speaking. You're literally creating worlds. What I would say is that words actually caption moments, they will caption days, they will caption weeks, they will even caption seasons of life. Have you ever had somebody talk about their life or a period of time, and they'll say, "Oh, that was a terrible time in life"? Well, was it 100% terrible? Like, I want you to think about some of the things that you say over an entire season of life. Well, what was high school like? Oh, high school was terrible. That was the most traumatic experience of my life. Well, was it 100% terrible? Was it really like everything in life during that time? Or did you take one portion out of your life and now that has been the caption over life? What do I mean by caption? Well, I'll show you a picture. This is me when I think I was 4 years old, almost five. And I remember this picture actually being taken because if you look at the background, you probably can't see it very well, but there's a bunch of Polaroids in the back on that table. And both of my siblings had gotten Polaroid cameras for Christmas, and they were going around taking pictures of everything. And they thought it was so cool and everything else. And of course, I wanted them to take pictures of me, but my siblings weren't really interested. They were 6 and 7 years older than me. So I go in my sister's room, and that was in my sister's room. And I was like, "Take a picture of me." And she was like, "Oh, okay." I harassed her so much that she took a picture of me. And then I wanted to show that I have muscles. And what did we do with Polaroid pictures back in the day? If you had a Polaroid picture, because most pictures now, along the way, they had, you would write on the back maybe a date or something like that. But Polaroid pictures, we would usually write a caption at the bottom. What are we doing? We're framing a moment. We're explaining to the world, what did this moment mean? What was going on? What was the circumstances or whatever? So and so's birthday, celebration of life, like whatever it is, we'll usually describe it. And so what we do is, and most of us probably don't realize what we do in our life, is that the words that we use, we will caption whole seasons of life and say, this is what that was about. We will caption a day or a week of our life. And people do it all the time. Matter of fact, we do this daily. Sometimes we do it moment by moment. Have you ever had your day ruined by a bad morning because of the way that you spoke about your morning? Because of one situation that happened in the morning, and this ruined my whole day. You know what? People who say that, what do they get? They get their whole day ruined. And who's the person in control? They're actually in control, but they're letting a situation, and they're saying the situation dictates my whole day. This ruined my whole day. This ruined my vacation. This ruined our date night or whatever. This is what, and so people talk in powerless kinds of ways, but they are the person who is in charge, because when you speak words, when you caption things in your life, you are the narrator of your story. You're the narrator of your life. You are the writer of your life. And you got to be very careful, because what you speak actually does create a world. And we're often doing this with no discipline at all in mind. We we aren't careful with the words that we speak. And just in the same way that we got impacted when we were growing up by adults who said negative stuff and negative situations that we could not run away from, we do the same thing over our lives. Because you know what? You can't run away from yourself. So you better start taking responsibility and ownership for this thing that you have, because whatever you speak, you will actually create it around you, whether it's true or not. So, how do we begin to change this? Because I want to give you some handles on how we actually grab a hold of this. Now, is this going to change everything in your life? No, but I think that some of these things will at least begin to give you handles so that you start implementing new habits in your life, so that you have a disciplined mind, that you start thinking in a disciplined way, and that you start becoming more successful than you are possibly right now. See, words are powerful. We understand that. That's why a kid can grow up and doubt themselves so much, or have such fear, or have anxiety, and a lot of other kinds of things. In many cases, not because of something that happened to them, because of what was spoken to them and spoken over them, or spoken in the situation or in their hearing. We understand that words are powerful. So, what we want to do is that we want to use language as a tool, because that's really what it is. See, like, before you fix everything in here, what we have to understand is that we have tools right now that, if we will use it as a discipline in life, this is what I'm helping you understand, is that we can begin to discipline the things that are out of control. It's like, you know what? It's like going to the gym. It's not, you're not going to the gym because you need to get muscles. You're going to the gym because you have muscles, but you are not using them in the right way or at all. So what we're talking about is that this is a tool. Your mouth's a tool. We use it all the time. We talk all the time. We might as well start leveraging it to get the results that we want. If we're looking in our life and our language is not creating a space or a culture for us to thrive in, then we can change it. But we've got to become disciplined. One of the ways that we begin to do that starts off with this as a discipline, that you've got to begin to start your day and end your night with gratitude. What do I mean by that? And some of you have heard this before. I want to give you a picture of it really quick. Now, I know that I've probably shown this picture before. This is from a few years ago. Now, this picture speaks to me on a lot of levels, and I'll tell you why. Because my family is Palestinian, and this is a Palestinian family whose house got completely blown apart, blown up. But the thing is that I don't want to point out the sadness of this picture. I want you to look at the face of the dad. I want you to look at the face of the children. Are they oblivious to what is going on around them? Do they not feel the wind blowing in their face? Do they not notice that all their possessions are gone and all they have is a tub full of water? I don't think that they're oblivious to those things at all. See, this is what I want you to understand that gratitude is. Because some people get annoyed when you tell them, oh, you need to have more gratitude in your life and you need to start your day with gratitude. I'm not looking at this picture as saying, oh, these people have a worse situation than me and I should have more gratitude. That's not what I'm talking about at all. That's not what's in this picture. Even though I can resonate with it personally on a lot of different levels, I'm not looking at these people and feeling pity for them as I say this. What I'm saying is that when you look at the face of those children and that father, what do they know that we do not know? Why is there gratitude? Why is there hope? Why is there joy on their face? Gratitude is not denying the problem's existence. It's denying its ability to choke our life away and not see the hopeful things that are actually going on in our life. See, this is what we have to understand, is that what gratitude really is not just simply focusing on, well, I'm going to try to find some ways to cheer myself up or whatever. No, this is not what's on the look of these children's face. It's not because they're naive. They can just as easily look around and see empty walls and wind blowing in and all of their stuff gone. It's in the middle of a traumatic experience and everything else. But it's the choice to choose hope and to actually orient your life around what truly is reality. Some people say, well, this is reality. Well, it depends on what reality you want to choose. I know that everyone who's here right now talking to me, you have a lot of different difficulties that are going on in your life. There are certain areas of uncertainty. Some of you have health stuff that's going on, different kinds of things. I'll tell you, in my life, I'm not batting 1,000 in every area of my life. I know that. When people see me in my life, what do they see though? I know that people see hope and joy on my life. I'm not denying the existence of problems in my life. I am denying their place of driving and directing what gets my attention and what makes me wake up in the morning. And I have to say, if I look objectively in my life, in the exact same way that these people are here, that they find it, you know what? If we are objective, and most people are not, Listen, if you're waking up, if you're negative in your life, you are not living in objective reality, my friend. If you can't find hope, you can't find things to excite you, bring you to life that you can be thankful for, then you are just quite simply deceived. I really believe that you are deceived if you do not have hope in your life. I'm not saying that we don't have problems. I'm not saying you can tell me how bad your life is. I would cry for you. I would pray for you. I would hug you. I would embrace you. I do all of those things all the time. I understand what hurt and pain is. I could tell you a lot of different traumas and different things that I've walked through. I've walked through with my family. I've walked through with my wife and everything else. But that is not going to be the orientation of my life, nor is it going to make me withdraw, because there is something greater. And I still, on the worst day of my life, have to be able to wake up and say, if I'm truly being honest, I understand that there's pains. I understand that there's really deep hurts and problems. But if I'm really honest with myself, the world is still amazing, that I breathe, that I have life, that I have opportunities, that I truly do. For the people who act like, well, I don't have any opportunities, they're deceived. You do have opportunities. Everybody has choice. Everybody wakes up and gets to choose whatever reality they want to focus on. And so living in gratitude in our life, beginning to make that, see, I believe that discipline has to start our day. We've got to orient our day with gratitude. As many times as you want to check in during the day, you can check in with gratitude. The last thing on your lips at night is a recognition of all of the gifts, most of them that you did not work for, that showed up in your life. See, gratitude, what it does is that it creates a culture of abundance. You know what people do that are negative and pessimistic? They have a culture of scarcity, and you watch the way that they operate in their life. They're not generous to people. They're not generous with their life. They feel like, well, there's not enough. There's always this situation where they think that there's not enough. And you know what? They withhold their life. And here's the thing. If you sow sparingly in your life, if you give sparingly in your life, if you show up sparingly in scarcity, you will also reap scarcity in your life. You have to understand that. Some of you have been withholding for a while now. You have this stirring that you want to help people in your life. But if you are showing up in lack in your life, I guarantee you, you are sowing lack and you will reap lack. Those of you who start to understand that there is more and that there is generosity over your life. See what sowing sparingly is really about. It's about trust. It's about actually seeing the bigger picture and knowing, man, I can see that there's a God, or however you want to frame it in your life. I'll frame it as God for me. There's a God over my life that's incredibly generous. If I'm honest with myself, if I'm able to look at the total picture to say, you know what? I've been so generously given to that I can show up and not be stressing out and living in lack when it comes to other people. And sowing, when I say sowing, meaning giving. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about giving and sharing in any kind of way. When you see people who withhold, listen, here's the funny thing. What I find with people is that they don't give more when they get more. That's a myth. It's not true at all. How you show up in life is really what you see in terms of the abundance of your heart. Because prosperity of heart is not reflected necessarily in the bank account. It's how you show up in your everyday life. See, when you start with gratitude, it actually sets the focus, and you start paying attention to what is right in the world and what's right in your world and what is truly going for you. That's not trying to pretend that things aren't wrong in the world. It's not deceiving yourself like, well, he's just trying to pretend like everything's great. No, I'm not. I think that we've got to be truly objective, that if 98% of your life is amazing, quit giving the 2% of your life the lion's share of your time and focus and worry. See, because focus, when I worry, that is focusing on the problem. When I am in hope, I am focusing on what truly is going right. And you know what it's telling me? It's telling me, hey, you know what? Some things in life suck. Some things in life are taking work right now in my life, but I can also look at the things that are going right, the decisions that I have made that are working in my favor. I can look at the momentum in my life and other kinds of places. And the only way that I can truly be objective is to recognize all of those things. See, because what ends up happening is that you retrain and you recalibrate what objective reality is. Because objective reality is that most things are actually working in your favor right now, if you're honest with it, with yourself. And so when I start to speak in gratitude, not only do I refocus and reposition myself, I actually recalibrate myself back to reality. How many people do you talk to that they find one problem in their life and that's all of the focus when they have all of these amazing things? Have you ever seen somebody who seemed to like have it all together, but they're crying about one area of their life and making it so much bigger? And you're like, wow, I've got real problems. And this person, I'd love to have their problems. You ever had that? This is what we're really talking about. You know what? There are people who want your problems. You know that? You realize that some of you who think that life isn't perfect and isn't going that great, that there's plenty of people who would love to have your problems and trade problems with you in a heartbeat. Maybe there's people who are taking a bath in Palestine. I don't know. But there's definitely people who have worse problems that would be like, boy, that would be amazing if I had these kinds of problems, you know? What ends up happening when you start and end with gratitude is it starts to set your level of expectation, because the people who are focused on what is not working are always waiting on the shoe to drop, the next shoe to drop, and what's getting ready to go wrong. So how do you do this? Well, I think that you do it in a really practical way. If you're a spiritual person, you can do it from a spiritual standpoint. If you're not, it's fine. It still works all the same, because you start recognizing what is working. But I think that you can have a discipline of writing, because sometimes we get distracted in things. And what I find is that when I write and I speak things at the exact same time, it seems to have a double effect, because now I'm fully engaged. And you know what? You can start out subtly. Like you can just say, I'm thankful and so grateful that I woke up today. I'm grateful and I'm thankful that I'm breathing air right now. Some of you have had COVID. I went through COVID twice. Know what that feels like. You knew a time when it was like, dude, I couldn't even breathe. Well, you can look at those kinds of things and we can start recognizing what's actually working. Hey, maybe you don't like your job. You could start your day like dreading your job, or you could say, man, I'm so thankful and I'm so grateful that I have a job today, that I'm getting to put my talents and I'm getting to put my thinking and my abilities into something that's going to reward me financially. I don't have to act like it's no money or whatever, but anything that I want to focus on, you'll find, you know what, you create a momentum with it, because in the same way that you create a momentum for negative thoughts, you can actually create a momentum for gratitude. And this is what's truly going on in your life. Spend 5, 10, 30 minutes. It will be an unstoppable flood after you begin. It's kind of like, well, it's kind of like anything. If you ever use a faucet or a spigot that hasn't been used in a really long time, a lot of times there's a lot of gunk in there and the pressure doesn't come out very well. And then all of a sudden, when that stuff starts breaking out, then all of a sudden you see that full force that's coming out. This is what we're really talking about. It creates a momentum in your life and begins to set an expectation in your day. 2 is this: replace I can't with I choose. A lot of people who are saying things like, well, I can't do that. Well, you know what I can't really is? I can't are the words of the powerless. And so I'll hear people say that every now and then. Well, I can't do that. Well, what are you talking about? You can't do that. Who's the person who's actually in charge of your life? Because when somebody say, well, I could never do that. I can't change my job. I can't quit my job. Well, who's making you go to work? Well, I can't because I need money or whatever. But you're actually choosing every day to work in the job that you're at. You're choosing the career. You're choosing the wage, the salary that you're taking, and everything else. See, it's very easy for people to use words like I can't, because then they pretend like they are not in charge. And you know what ends up happening? They end up not being in charge of their life. So when we frame things and we start using the word I choose, what ends up happening is that it reminds you of your own free will to choose. My daughter's there's this trend going on. My daughter told me about it the other day, and it's called the free will trend. And they got all these people. I think they're on TikTok. I don't know if it's happening on Instagram, but my daughter's kind of like in the TikTok world. So and so she's making me laugh the other day because what she'd do is just like, I'm going to do this weird thing because I have free will and I can choose to do it. And so this is what the trend is going on TikTok right now. And I was like, that's so weird. I was like, I did that when I was like 7 years old. I remember being at this school, and I wasn't thinking free will. And obviously it wasn't a TikTok. I remember I'd like, oh, I can walk over here 15 feet. But then I can walk backwards 15 feet if I want to do that. And I was doing all these strange things. Like if anybody was watching me that day, they probably thought there was something wrong with me because I'm talking to myself and I'm by myself in the playground for whatever reason. What we have to understand is that when we use the words I choose instead of I can't, what it does is that it makes you take ownership and you recognize that you are the one making decisions in your life. And it's enforcing autonomy in your life. See, what we want to do though is that we want to use the word I choose aligned with what we really want, whatever that goal is in life. So if I had an example of this, when somebody says something like, well, I can't eat that, I'm on a diet. Well, that's powerlessness. And you know what's going to end up happening is that this person's going to trip up and they're going to quit at a certain point in most cases. It's a power because they're not in control. They're powerless, right? But what if they reframed it in this way? I'm choosing healthy options because I have a goal of fitting in my favorite pair of jeans. So this is completely different shift in the way that they say. I'm not talking about I can't. I have choices. I could choose to eat the wrong thing. But you know what I'm doing? I'm choosing based on a goal because there's a reality. And you know what ends up happening is not only do I say that I am choosing something that I truly want. Not saying I can't do that because I have no other options. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's a subtle shift, but it's a disciplined way of speaking because now I create an environment of not what I can't have, but I'm putting myself in the flow of being able to begin to get what I want. Another thing, replacing the I can't with how can I? Because what a lot of times happens is that I can't actually takes you out of the game and it eliminates options that you have. So anytime that you're working with your clients, this is one of the things that we've got to even help our clients start to rephrase. Quit saying I can't. I can't. You know what happens when you say I can't? Well, I don't have anything. I have a lot of resources. I have a lot of options. There's a million options. There's a million ways to make $1,000,000. Like there's tons of different ways. So let's quit talking in terms of I can't. There's a lot of options. But what happens is that when I say I can't and I put finality on it, what ends up happening is that I don't utilize my own resources. I don't utilize my own strategic thinking. I don't utilize the right side of my brain. And so I don't do anything with it. Makes me lazy. I don't actually act on it. But when you say, how can I? You begin to open up possibilities so that you can investigate the options that are around you. So if I gave you examples of that, if somebody said today, doesn't this work in my favor today? I don't know. I'm trying to help you think because I want you to get unstuck. Some of you who are saying this right here. I can't afford to get trained and certified as a coach. Every now and then we'll get emails to the school about that. Sorry, we can't. We do things very affordably here, right? Anybody who actually gets involved in our program always says they got a lot more out of it than what they paid for. I know that, but you know what? There's still a team that's got to get paid. There's people who count on that. Like there's bills to pay, right? Like all this stuff doesn't really happen for free, even though we do a lot for free. So we don't have scholarships available, and we don't take financial aid and all of that other stuff. We can't, right? What I think is that if somebody says I can't afford to get trained and certified as a coach, and in the life coach certification course that has live training every week and everything else is only $195. We're not talking about $1,000 decision here. We're not talking about a $20,000 decision. We're not talking about a $10,000 decision. We're not talking about a $1,000 decision. We're talking about a $195 one. So when someone says this, If you can't come up with $195 as though it's this big of a barrier in life, I don't have any hope that you can actually become a coach and that you can change the world, because that's up here. Like one GoFundMe, you watch people set up GoFundMes and they get thousands of dollars, like ridiculous. They always go over and above. Like there's so many different options. There's so many different ways and resources that you could implement. We've got a payment plan. You know that? We got a payment. There's so many different ways that we make it as easy as possible. So if somebody says this, there's something else that's going on. They've already made a choice. So how can I work? If somebody said, it's critical that I live my purpose. What am I saying? We've got to have a goal in mind. It's critical that I live my purpose. How can I creatively come up with resources to do it? And when I start saying it that way, how can I? Now I re-engage this side of my brain. Now I engage my heart. Now, you know what ends up happening is that there's a system inside you that starts helping you get what you need. Reminds you of an uncle, reminds you of a way that you can save money, reminds you of different ways that you can cut a corner here and there, whatever you've got to do. You know, for me, when I got trained and certified as a coach, I had to spend thousands of dollars to do it. And if I told you my story in that, because I didn't have any money, because I couldn't take anything away from my family, because we were like super barely making it. And we had only about a year previous been homeless. And but I knew that this was something that I needed to do. And so I start looking around. I end up making this plan and figuring out how I get on a flight to the Bay Area. And it only cost me $15 to get a round trip flight after everything was figured out there. Now it's like, how do I get from the airport to where I need to go? And you know what I did? I was like, how do I keep from having to pay an extra night in a hotel room? You know what I did? Is I got in really, really late on the flight because a late red-eye flight was cheaper. I took that and I slept in the airport in the San Francisco airport. It was not a cushy kind of place or anything else. I got a little bit of sleep, and then I found out that there was a shuttle that got me near where I needed to go that was pretty much nothing, but they only ran that shuttle like once an hour. So I had to stand out in the cold and wait on the shuttle to come and get me. And then I finally get on that shuttle and get to where I'm going. And I had a little carry-on, and I literally walked 3 miles to the hotel where the training was going to be taking place. And then I get there and I got a ride to where my Roach Motel was. And all of these things. And it was like, you know, was it scarcity? Was it like, no, there was a purpose. And you know what I decided to do? I decided that, hey, it can be done, but it might be a little bit uncomfortable. It might mean that I've got to make some choices. I ate one meal a day while I was there. Made it a good one, but that's all that I had a budget for. And then I came back home after that and I started getting clients. And it's just really, it's that kind of determination. It's that kind of, I'll open myself up to the possibilities, but I can't never gets anybody anywhere. The people who say I can't never do. The people who say I can't how can I, start submitting themselves to a lot of different options. When I say how can I, it doesn't mean that every option is going to work, but it definitely opens us up to options. Let me finish up with this. 4 is that you've got to de-escalate your language when things get stressful. And when I say that, what I'm talking about is that a lot of times we use loaded words that are triggers. Have you ever noticed that in writing, in the newspaper, on websites and everything else, they use these loaded words that are clickbait to try to get you, words like unhinged and everything else. Well, what we don't understand is that a lot of times in our language is that we will use certain words that will actually ruin our entire day. Will take us out of flow, will take us out of being creative or anything else. Loaded words like, I'm about to blow up. Well, what do you end up doing when you say that? You blow up. You already predicted it. You already created that. You escalated your language that created the emotion ahead of time, and you decided to go there. Pretty much everybody who says I'm about to blow up, they are not able to stop from blowing up. If it doesn't happen in that moment, it happens soon after. We got to quit using the loaded language. We say things, now my day is going to be ruined. I got up on the wrong side of the bed, all kinds of different junk. And you know what you end up doing? You end up creating a narrative. You caption your whole day, and that's what it becomes. You caption your week, you caption your entire life if you're not careful. So, how would I change that? Well, look at what a ridiculous word like befuddled does to this. We're not denying that there's a problem, but if I say something like, I'm befuddled right now, what the heck does that word mean? You say I'm befuddled right now. What does it do? Is it disarms, it eliminates the trigger. I can't build up. I probably can't take my emotions that seriously saying something like befuddled. It's a ridiculous word. You know what? It'll work. It's what I've got to say to begin to use language that keeps me in the flow and keeps me moving towards my goal instead of ruining my entire day and giving up my power and not being resourceful. See, the people who just blow up, they lost their creativity. They had no other decision except fight or flight. That was it. Fight or flight means I got really one of two choices. Befuddled means I get a lot of different options because I don't have to go crazy. I've got a lot of different options on how I can move forward right now. This is what we're really talking about. What we are getting ready to do in just a couple of weeks, for those of you who have been trained and certified already, is that we do have advanced skills training. We only offer it 2 times a year. This year it's going to be December 2nd and 3rd. And what we focus on in advanced skills training, and I'll speak to you guys in a second who have not gotten trained and certified yet, because you do have to go through that process. You can't sign up for this unless you've actually been through that process, because you're going to be completely lost if you have never been trained and certified. What advanced skills training is that really it is what's in its name. What I want to do is, over the last 20 years, as I've been helping people get breakthrough in their lives, I share with you what my learnings have been and also the tools for breakthrough. But you have to understand, to help people get breakthrough, you have to understand how this works. How do beliefs work? How do they form? What is the master system in someone that creates the kinds of cycles and everything else? Advanced Skills Training is over 10 hours of online interactive training, and it's an event. We go to the source of belief systems, and you learn the strategy that can help you help your clients overcome limits and maximize their potential. And we're talking about sticking points like imposter syndrome, bad money beliefs, perfectionism, self-sabotage, lies like I'm not enough, irrational fears like no one would ever pay me to do what I love. All of these different things. What you learn really in that weekend is breakthrough skills that help you pinpoint a client's limiting beliefs. We show you brain hacks to quickly remove barriers and self-sabotaging systems. You'll help your clients grow in self-worth, eliminate procrastination, conquer irrational fears, and you'll also learn a formula to help someone unlock maximum potential. What's included in this weekend is not only the 10 plus hour live training. We stream that to your computer, laptop, or tablet or mobile device. That would be a $19.95 value, but you also get tools, because I want you walking away with tools in your hand. So we do this training a little bit differently. Friday night, I give you the science of belief, and I help you understand how your brain works and how beliefs are, and why do people find themselves in cycles? Why are so many people sick these days? Because of their thinking. Why is it that 85% of illness is actually psychosomatic? You find all of these things. I'm going to show you the details. We're going to look under the hood at beliefs and how they actually impact and how they actually make people withdraw, cycle, all those things. Friday night's focused on that. All day Saturday is experiential tools, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the tools, show you how to use them, and you're going to use them on yourself. And what ends up happening for most of the coaches who are in there is that they get their own breakthroughs that day, while at the same time that they're learning how to use the tools. So it's not just talking head and you're hearing me talk, it's you utilizing the tools. So you walk away with the tools, because what's more important than what you learned at the event is the fact that you walk away with stuff after the event. You also get replays to everything in advanced skills training that will be available for you. But the other kicker is that you do get an advanced credential. It's the CPC credential. It's a certified professional coach credential. You're going to be a better coach. You're going to be a more skilled coach. You're going to know what to do when your clients are stuck in places. And that's going to make you better, but it's also going to make you more marketable because you will be a better coach. And so that's coming up December 2nd and 3rd. The cost is only $247. If you click the link either in the email we sent you earlier or inside of this video description, you can get to our website and you can get more information about that on our main page of our website. For those of you who have not gotten trained and certified as a coach yet, great deal for you. Our Jumpstart program not only allows you to get trained and certified as a coach, but you also develop your business, and it's only $97 a month with a 3-month minimum commitment. What's included? Well, tomorrow we start week 1 because it's rolling sessions. We start week 1 of the Life Coach Certification course. It's live, but it's also self-paced. And these are the rolling sessions that we walk you through. Tomorrow, we'll talk about foundations of coaching. The following week, the anatomy of a dynamic coaching session. 3 is how to help your clients get extraordinary results. 4 and 5 is how to listen on a transformational level. And also, 6 is how to ask powerful questions. 7 is how to establish a growing coaching practice. Every one of these sessions has live Q&As, and we also do live coaching demos where you can practice and you can observe people coaching and all of that. That's included in Jumpstart for $97 a month. Well, you also get access to the weekend boot camp. The next one is going to be in January. And basically what we do is that we cram everything that makes the Life Coach Certification course into an entire weekend. So all 7 sessions get crammed into one weekend and you knock it all out in a single weekend. That's normally by itself $247, but it's included inside of Jumpstart. You get Brand Camp. It's 13 hours of training, and we walk you through the step-by-step on how to discover your niche and how to develop messaging, how to write an email, how to write a sales page, how to create a funnel on your website, how to create lead magnets, how do you do email marketing, like everything. But we want you to really grab a hold of powerful messaging, show you how to wireframe your website, what color schemes work, all of this stuff. That's what we actually include in Brand Camp. The Coaching Product Launch Blueprint is to help you brainstorm from the very beginning everything about your business, creating coaching products, whether it's going to be a webinar, a course, or whatever you're wanting to create. We help you brainstorm from 0 to launch in 8 sessions. And we also give you the product launch sequence, which is a 14-day sequence to really create momentum for your business so that you can get your ideal clients. All of this is included in Jumpstart. Jumpstart is the A to Z on how to develop your business, and we cover everything in it. And not only that, is that Wednesdays are a live group coaching call where we get together, we celebrate wins, and we help people by giving them feedback on anything that they're working on or helping them troubleshoot any problems that they're having with clients or in their business or anything else. The community of Jumpstart is amazing. We have an online group of support, and they're all dynamic coaches who not only are there to grow their own business and develop as coaches, but they're there for one another. They're amazing human beings. And what I would say for any of you, whether you go to another program, if you go to another program and you get trained and certified elsewhere, find a business development program and find coaches who understand what you're doing to walk alongside you, because that support and that encouragement and accountability is critical to your success. The cost is only $97 a month with a 3-month minimum commitment. If I was to put a price tag on this, you're talking about $10,000+ easy for what you're going to learn, and the fact that you actually have support as you're doing it. And so, with that said, let me jump over here and look in our comments really quickly. Rock is enrolled in advanced skills training. He says, now I'm really looking forward to it. I was blown away by the life coach training. So good. And Harvey says, you will be blown away. Multiply that by 10. Oh, is that based on the pricing? Is that what you're talking about? Awesome. Harvey says, advanced skills training was transformational for me. Shamir likes the word befuddled. She says, I'd laugh whatever that issue was away. So good. Alex says, this life coach program is so affordable and so beneficial. I love it so much. I almost spent $3,000 on another life coach program. Thank God for guidance. Thank you so much, Alex. Who else do I need to say hello to really quick? Rock says, I just got my life coach credentials today. Thanks to Paul, the incredible support from everyone in this amazing program. Congratulations. So good. Awesome. Hey, does anybody have any questions before we head out of here for the day? Teresa from Santa Barbara. Are you still there, Teresa? I don't know if you're still on there. It's so good to see you. I was like, seriously? Teresa's on here? So good. Good seeing you. Awesome. Well, cool. Well, what we are going to do, as I went in a little bit of overtime tonight, it was a great night. I hope this was really helpful for you. Make sure you pull those tips away. You can watch the replay later if you got in here late or anything else. But we will be back next week with week 3. And for those of you who are in our life coach certification course, I will see you tomorrow, or you jump starters. Tomorrow night is Tuesday night training. It's at 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. And it's going to be amazing, amazing time for you to start if you have not, because you can get rolling tomorrow. For those of you who are thinking about advanced skills training, click that link inside the description. Get over there and get enrolled. If you guys would like to do advanced skills training and you're like, oh, but I need to knock out certification, get enrolled now. It's self-paced, so you can knock that out and be done in time to take advantage of that. And you know what? January is almost here. That's going to be the close number 2 month out of the entire year to get clients. So I'd highly encourage you guys to get aggressive and get serious. Don't go to sleep. Don't be thinking about turkey and all of that other stuff. I know we'll have time with family, but this is a great time to get momentum and to get traction in your life to do what you want to do. So again, get enrolled. I hope to see you soon. Have a great rest of your week and take care.